from what research I've done about you, it seems to me that you're an expert in just figuring out what a company needs, or
Mhm.
what particular technologies did people not think of that could really benefit their business. So just in terms of like, okay, let's give you an example to break down. So we're in the automotive industry, right? So for DELMIA, like what size company would use DELMIA? And in the automotive industry, what are some technologies that you would recommend that people don't often add to their installation base?
Well, I guess trying to think about this. So, in automotive is driven is an industry driven largely by suppliers, and typically they're referred to, with in tiers, a tier one supplier, a tier two supplier, et
Right.
cetera. The automotive manufacturer themselves is mostly concerned about assembly and coordination and things like that. And again, they're again, these are very complex machines and things like that. So, we certainly have tier one customers. And one of the things that we see is people of either companies, it's not that they don't have any technology, although they could. I mean, uh, there's a lot of Excel and paper out there yet,
Oh God,
and
yeah.
and people, again, particularly, it's probably all over the country, but I'm a Midwest. I grew up on a farm, and the Midwest mentality is very much, well, we'll just work harder and we'll make it happen. And again, you can do that, but it's not particularly sustainable or scalable. So there's a lot of Excel and things like that out there, just people and paper. And how do you kind of bridge that gap? Hey, there's a better way. We could have those people be more efficient. Or you may have companies that have either maybe done a system themselves, a homegrown thing, or they've accumulated a host of point systems. And again, there's some good point systems. I need to do this, okay? Then you've got a system that does that. Okay, well, now I need that system to talk to this other one. Ooh, yeah, we don't do that. Really? Oh, yeah, well, yeah, my quality system is completely disconnected from anything else. Mm, really? And so that's one of the things that we see is, you've got some levels of maturity. You've got people and paper kind of at the bottom. You've got, maybe I've got a system that maybe I built or bought that really isn't connected to things. And then you start to get to a level of, I maybe have separate systems, but they're all connected. And again, we use the term, digital thread. Does your digital thread completely have to reside in Delmia? No, although we offer that, but at least we can facilitate. Oh, I can go from design to manufacturing engineering, to the shop floor, to field service, back to design, right? And so how do you maintain that all the way through? And again, when you have people and paper, that's almost impossible. When you have disconnected systems, it's super difficult. Again, it just ends up being a lot of work to maintain that thread, and you just have to work harder, which is inefficient, right? So when we talk about sustainability, one of the things we look at sustainability in terms of, a piece of it is, are we making efficient use of our resources? And one of the resources is people, right? But again, it could be our inputs, raw materials, electricity, etc. But again, the better, faster, and cheaper that I can make something, the more sustainable a company's being.
All right.
Hopefully that answered your question. I got off a little bit on a tangent of sustainability, but that's one of
No,
the
it's
things. So,
yeah. Go ahead.
you know, so you would actually ask, how could we go in and help somebody? So typically we will go in and we would do, kind of talking about those levels of maturity. When we would go in initially, we would do what we call a value assessment, and we would try to understand, well, where are you in your journey? Are you people and paper? Are you disconnected systems? Are you, how you're doing an ERP, but maybe not as well as you would like, and things like that. So we really try to understand where you are as a company, and then that helps us come up with to say, okay, well, if this is where you are, here's your next step and maybe subsequent steps. Because the reality is, you can't get um, you can't get all the way in one step, maybe not even two steps, right? Where do you start? Um, and so you have to start the journey somewhere. And when you look at things like magic quadrants, everybody wants to get to the upper right. Well, the reality is most folks start in the bottom left. And so how do we get you there? So really we use some of these tools and observations to kind of help people, because we may have somebody that comes in and says, well, I need this. Well, maybe, but one of the jobs that our my group does is to understand, is what you're asking for and what you need the same thing? And if not, how do we educate the customer to say, well, let's talk about maybe where you want to get to, rather than, well, I want to solve this immediate need. Because again, that's kind of how you collect a bunch of point systems that don't talk to one another.